There were a lot of interesting things at today's vaccine advisory meeting of the FDA, but I want to focus on a couple of quotes that really stuck with me throughout the day. These are about Peter Marks. Peter Marks, of course, is the CBER director, and he has taken over the helm of the vaccine products in the wake of the resignations of Marion Gruber and Phil Krause. Those are the two senior FDA officials who resigned because they said the White House had pressured them to approve boosters for everybody 12 and up, even though the evidence didn't support that at the time, and they felt like we should wait for better evidence, and they resigned over that. Peter Marks then took over their office to make it easier for everybody. He's got a couple of very interesting quotes. Now, of course, what happened in the last few weeks is that the FDA went ahead and gave an EUA authorization to a fourth dose. The fourth dose, the second booster, whatever you want to call it, it's the fourth dose. It's for 50 and up. That's interestingly more than what Pfizer even asked for. Pfizer said give us 65 and up. They said, you know what? We'll just give you 50 and up. Just take the whole 50 and up. Well, that's a controversial decision. I want to talk about that. But first, let's talk about the quotes. This is a quote from, this is a tweet by Meg Terrell. Paraphrasing what Peter Marks says, FDA's Peter Marks says it is important to allow the option to restore protection to vulnerable groups now while COVID is circulating, and this meeting is for much larger questions such as boosts for broader population, when to update strains, and what to do in the fall. And Venk Murthy, a cardiologist, writes about that he had to rush to do this because we couldn't let people be vulnerable sitting out there. Venk writes, quote, it strains credulity to say we could afford time for the FDA and CDC advisory meetings for the initial approvals and for dose 3 and for so many prior waves, but now we cannot. And of course, that's right. What are you even saying? You're saying that all those times you did it the proper way. You had the advisory committee, for better or worse, they made their decision, but it was all out in the public. Now you're in a rush. Now that you're getting to the fourth dose, you can't do the due diligence and have the meetings. Makes no sense. If anything, it's the first dose that's the one you got to rush, and the fourth dose, the one you had a little bit more time to think about and get better evidence for. It's the exact opposite of what should have happened. But certainly, you took the time to have those meetings then. You can have these meetings on a moment's notice. These people know this is an important public service. They will agree to meet in a moment's notice. Peter Marks, it strains credulity. That's saying it nicely. I'm going to say it's some crap. It's a crap excuse, my friend. It's a crap excuse. Next thing. This is a tweet by Paul Thacker. He's quoting what he heard at the meeting. Professor James Hildreth asks FDA why the agency approved boosters without the panel meeting. FDA's Peter Marks says, quote, we consider that as not a major expansion or a major change, but as, quote, something reasonable, end quote. Something reasonable. Very interesting. Just today, the European CDC said, we don't have any evidence that boosters are necessary for 60-year-olds, let alone 50-year-olds. We've had this week an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal by Luciano Borro and Phil Krause, two former senior FDA officials, saying we don't believe there's robust evidence for boosters, third dose or fourth dose, certainly fourth dose. And they have a bunch of questions about it. Here's what the ECDC says, quote, for adults below the age of 60 with normal immune systems, there's currently no conclusive evidence that vaccine protection against severe disease is waning or that there's an added value of the fourth dose. Moreover, they've only authorized it in 80 and above. So they think that 50 to 60-year-old group, you got nothing to hang your hat on. You got nothing. You don't even got bad observational data. So what's going on here? Europeans are doing something different. Former officials are protesting. A lot of thoughtful critics are saying this is not supported by evidence. All you have are really flawed, confounded observational studies from Israel. You should demand, Pfizer's got a lot of money. They're going to make $100 billion this year. You can demand they do a randomized control trial. But you're rushing ahead and you're authorizing boosters, Peter Marks. And when you're not holding the meetings to discuss this in a public space because you say you're in a rush or you say it's something very obvious, something's fishy. And here's what the answer is. The answer is Peter Marks is not doing a good job. That's the answer. It's a very simple answer. He's not doing a good job. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he's taking his cues from the White House or what, but he's not doing the job of a faithful regulator. He's doing the job of a rubber stamp. He's doing the job of somebody who He's going to be working for Pfizer someday. I don't know. He's not doing a good job. That's all I have to say. This is a terrible job. You need to demand and compel the company to generate credible evidence. That's the job of the FDA. That's not the job of individual clinicians meeting with people having discussions. We are limited by the lousy evidence that you have compelled the manufacturer to generate. You are asking for nothing. You are basically allowing them to perpetually boost this population, booster after booster, no credible data, just handing them billions of dollars. We might as well just write our tax checks to Albert Bourla himself at Pfizer. You are giving them everything. You're not demanding good evidence. You are failing at your job. I'm telling you, you're failing at your job. History will remember you as someone who failed in his job. You are not protecting the public. You need to demand better evidence. You need to hold proper hearings. You can't tell these stories that make no sense. We didn't have time. We only have those things for things that are important decisions. This is a very minor, obvious thing to do. No. The Europeans are not doing it. You've got former officials criticizing you for doing it. Your excuses don't hold up water. You need to either decide if you want to be a regulator. You don't have to be a regulator. You can work for companies. You can be an investor. You can do all sorts of things in this world. But if you want to be a regulator, you have a duty to protect the public health. And that duty means you need to compel manufacturers to run credible studies so we know net benefits outweigh net harms. That's the job of drug regulation. You don't want to do that job? You want to green light things and rubber stamp products? Go work for the company. You can fight that fight there. But don't hold the job of the regulator. I don't know what's going on. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think it's truly unprecedented to have wide, sweeping authorizations for 50 and up. Can anyone sit down and look a 51-year-old in the eye and say, you've gotten 3 doses, you're a healthy 51-year-old, some of them might be a marathon runner, you're in excellent shape. I really think you're going to need that 4th dose. Can anyone, and what data do you have to justify that conversation? What data are you hanging your hat on? The European CDC is saying, you don't got nothing. And I know from reading literature, you don't got nothing. And yet the FDA is giving Pfizer the EUA more than they asked for. That's also something very interesting. It's not often you see somebody given more than what the company even asked for. They thought they'd be lucky to get 65 and up, but they got 50 and up. It's a big problem. I don't like what I see. I really don't. I think we need to decide. If we set this precedent that we're going to have 4th doses based on low levels of evidence, and if we set that precedent for a seasonal or biannual shot, we're going to be handing over Pfizer and Moderna and other companies tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe even $1 trillion over 20, 25 years. And we'll have no idea what we're getting in return for that. This is a total failure of the regulatory system. This is pure corporatism. I don't know what to say. It's a bad precedent. But the excuses don't hold water. Everyone can see right through them. Peter, at least come up with some better stuff. And, that's all I'll say on this topic for now. But I'm not happy. If you like this video, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a message below. Until next time.